Welcome to Chronicle podcast, where difficult truths are handled with compassion and painful questions are explored without judgment. In the last episode, we talk about emotional aftermath of infidelity, the shock, the trauma, and the fight to survive emotionally. Today, we are stepping into one of the most asked and most misunderstood questions after betrayal. And let me ask you gently, what do you do when your heart wants answer, but your pain is afraid of what those answers might reveal? Because somewhere between anger and grief, many betrayed spouses ask, why this happen? This episode is not about blame. It is about clarity, because understanding the why is not about excusing betrayal. It is about deciding what comes next with wisdom. Infidelity rarely appears out of nowhere. It often grows quietly in emotional gaps that go unaddressed. Some of the most common root causes are emotional neglect in marriage. When emotional connection fades, conversations become shallow, affection disappear, partners stop feeling seen or valued. Loneliness inside marriage can be more painful than being alone. Unresolved conflicts, repeated arguments that never reach resolution, create emotional exhaustion. Silence becomes safer than communication, and distance grows. Unmet emotional needs for appreciation, affection, validation, companionship may go unexpressed or unheld. Unmet needs don't disappear, they seek outlet. Opportunity without boundaries. Proximity plus secrecy, weak boundaries, create vulnerability. Infidelity often begins where boundaries were never reinforced. Avoidance instead of communication. Rather than addressing dissatisfaction, some choose escape. Let's be clear, infidelity is always a choice. Nothing caused someone to cheat. However, choices are often influenced by old emotional patterns like fear of confrontation, poor emotional regulation, avoidance of accountability, lack of self awareness, entitlement, unresolved personal wounds. Understanding this does not justify betrayal, it contextualizes it. Let's talk about explanation and excuse. Knowing the difference is crucial for healing, because an explanation says this is what was happening emotionally and relationally. An excuse says this is why my behavior should be overlooked. Healing requires explanation, not excuse. Accountability must remain intact. Responsibility must not shift to betrayed spouse. Understanding the why helps guide healing. Excuses block it. Infidelity impacts both partners but not equally. The betrayed spouse experiences trauma, loses emotional safety, questions self-worth, struggle with trust. The unfaithful partner often carries shame, avoid vulnerability, struggles with guilt or defensiveness, may lack emotional maturity. But the key truth is the betrayed spouse is never responsible for the betrayal. Both, both partners may need healing for the marriage to recover. Sometimes the issue is not one bad partner, it is a broken relational pattern. Patterns like avoidance instead of communication, emotional distance instead of intimacy, secrecy instead of transparency, conflict without repair. When these remain unaddressed, pain repeats regardless of who you are with. Healing focuses on awareness, emotional honesty, boundary restoration, intentional connection. This is where transformation begins. Understanding the why does not erase the pain, but it opens the door to clarity and healing. Clarity empowers decisions. Confusion keeps people stuck. That brings us to the end of episode 3 of Infidelity in Marriage. If this episode stirred uncomfortable truths, take a breath. Understanding does not mean you must stay. It simply means you can now choose your next step with insight, not fear. In episode 4, we'll explore one of the most critical questions couples face, where we'll talk about accountability, rebuilding trust, forgiveness, boundaries, and knowing when healing together is possible and when it is not. So stay with us, share this episode with someone seeking clarity, and remember, understanding is not the end of healing, it is the beginning. Stay tuned to Chronicle podcast. Thank you. Yours